I want to begin by saying that the Durham District School Board unequivocally recognizes the historical and ongoing oppression that 2S LGBTQI peoples face across our greater society, including education systems, and we commit to moving forward with intention to acknowledge past traumas and build a system that celebrates, respects, values, and embraces 2S LGBTQIA peoples. Transgender Awareness Week is a week when transgender people and their allies take action to bring attention to the community by educating the public about who transgender people are, sharing their stories and experiences, and advancing advocacy around the issues of prejudice, discrimination, and violence that affect transgender communities. It leads up to Transgender Day of Remembrance. November 20th marks internationally observed Transgender Day of Remembrance. This solemn day was sparked by the brutal murder of Rita Hester that occurred in 1998. 1 year later, Gwendolyn Ann Smith held a vigil to commemorate Hester and all of the transgender people who had lost their lives due to violence, and it is now marked and observed across the globe with memorials. In the words of Gwendolyn Ann Smith, Transgender Day of Remembrance seeks to highlight the losses we face due to anti-transgender bigotry and violence. I am no stranger to the need to fight for our rights, and the right to simply exist is first and foremost. With so many seeking to erase transgender people, sometimes in the most brutal ways possible, it is vitally important that those we lose are remembered and that we continue to fight for justice. In Canada, Bill C-16 was introduced in 2016 to protect individuals from discrimination and from being the targets of hate propaganda as a consequence of their gender identity or their gender expression. Despite gender identity and expression being a part of the prohibited grounds of discrimination in the Canadian Human Rights Act, discrimination and bias by trans individuals continues. It is unacceptable. The Durham District School Board Human Rights, Anti-Discrimination, and Anti-Racism Policy was developed with help from community stakeholders and uses specific language to eliminate transphobic discrimination. The policy acknowledges structural dominance around cisnormativity and cisgenderism. It brings attention to the fact that this discrimination negatively affects physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual safety, mental health, and well-being of both students and staff within our community. The Durham District School Board Human Rights Inclusive Design and Accommodation Procedure is in place to support students who are transgender, gender fluid, and transitioning in many aspects of their educational experience. Supports around pronouns, changing school records, washrooms and change rooms, shifting to less gendered activities and courses, and respecting privacy are all aspects of this process. Likewise, we have the inclusive and safe working procedure for staff. We need to do more. We commit to doing more. And we are so pleased to be here today with you to acknowledge the trauma, but to also commit to do better for both students, staff, and our society. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Sean McCormack, and I am the System Lead for Anti-Oppression Human Rights here in the Durham District School Board. And I also have teaching and learning under my portfolio as well. As Candice and Laura both mentioned, we stand here today in solidarity and in remembrance of all those in the trans community who have been impacted in tragic ways. We also stand here today to renew our commitment to ensure that here in Durham District School Board, we continue to do all we need to do to support students to create spaces where they feel safe, respected, and free to be who they are each and every day. Part of my role is to collaborate with school leaders to help them take proactive measures to ensure that we eradicate all forms of oppression, discrimination, and hate. I work alongside Camille Ali, and we take this role very seriously and with an immense amount of pride in what we do each and every day to support the staff and students in our system. One way we can all cultivate safe school spaces is by ensuring that all identities are reflected and respected through the appropriate use of pronouns. We will continue to work alongside our Visible Everyday Committee and the many allies and members of the transgender community as partners in this very important work. Although we know we are not where we want to be yet, we will continue to move forward to make gains each and every year so that those who lost their lives have not lost in vain. We humbly thank you for allowing us to share space with you, and we will continue to create safe and respectful working spaces and learning spaces for trans students. We know on a day like today it can be very triggering and emotional. Should you need to speak with someone, we have Nicole Bedward from our social work team and Sylvia Riley from our psychological services team here to support folks. We stand with you.
I now ask Garrett Metcalf to come forward from the OSSTF.
Good morning, everyone. My pronouns are he, him, and they. District 13, Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, has a long history of activism supporting queer staff and students here in Durham. Today, as we raise the trans flag, recognizing Transgender Awareness Week and honoring all of the lives lost and impacted by acts of anti-transgender violence, District 13 recognizes that much more needs to be done. We are committed to doing the work to end violence against all transgender colleagues, students, and the communities we serve. D13 recognizes the significant harms rooted in our colonial past and the impacts that colonialism continues to have today. We must work hard to fight the strict binaries of gender rooted in patriarchal colonial systems. We must fight hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity. We must challenge that gender is rooted in biology. We must challenge the cultural norms of blueness and pinkness defining our expression and our genders. All sexism, homophobia, and transphobia are rooted in these strict binaries, and they must end. As we raise the transgender flag today, I hope that someday we will not be gathering in remembrance, but rather in celebration of the richness, the diversity, and the gifts that the trans community offer to all of us. Until that day, we have a responsibility to continue to do the work to fight transphobia, and D13 and DDSB are fully committed to doing so.
Thank you, and I now ask Mary Fowler from ETFO to please come.
Good morning. My name is Mary Fowler. I'm the president of the ETFO Teachers Local, representing 3,000 permanent elementary teachers in the Durham District School Board, and my pronouns are she and her. Thank you for including us here today. Transgender Awareness Week and the Transgender Day of Remembrance is a time to show up, speak up, and support trans, two-spirit, and non-binary people who have lost their lives due to transphobic violence. It is also a time to honor and support those who continue to face violence and discrimination as they work for more just and inclusive communities. While advances have been made, we know that trans people continue to face harassment and are fearful of being their true selves in their workplaces and learning spaces, both here in the DDSB and in our communities. It is on all of us as allies and friends to speak up when hearing transphobic remarks and discrimination, regardless of where those comments are coming from, in the classroom, in our community, in meetings, or at our board tables. Discrimination has no place in our society or in our education system. In 2015, at our annual meeting, ETFO adopted a transgender policy statement reaffirming our commitment that ETFO members and our students who are transgender have the right to inclusive and respectful working and learning environments that are free from discrimination and harassment. Since that time, we have worked diligently with community partners to create programs for members, students, and parents on how to build those safe spaces together. As educators around the board are listening to this with their students, my message to you is this: if you are experiencing transphobia or discrimination of any kind in your workplace, lean on us. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario is committed to this ongoing work and to understanding the intersection of gender, race, sexuality, ability, and other identities on the lives of equity-seeking educators and students. On this day, as we raise a flag and remember the members of the transgender community whose lives have been cut short due to the hate that they've experienced, we must all make a commitment to making a safer, more just society together. Thank you.
We know that in today's climate, there are many voices that are trying to stop the life-changing and often life-saving work that we are doing to honor and uphold transgender rights and all human rights. If we do not act coalitionally across all identity groups and use all of our various positions of power and influence, this work will not move forward, and students and families will continue to suffer. We cannot afford to go backwards. All DDSB staff and students have the support of the board to put the human rights policy and procedures in place. We are all duty bearers and must enact these responsibilities in all spaces. Let's continue to work together to build trusting and meaningful relationships, taking the time and space necessary to hear each other out and to truly listen. It is only through this investment that we will be able to bridge the gap for all students and have the thriving educational and working experiences that they deserve. I welcome everyone to now gather in community for our flag raising. Thank you. Thank you for everyone for joining us today.
Candace?